The Kedwill Chronicles. First Contact. Chapter 1. The Ordinary World. The morning sun filtered through the kitchen windows of the Kedwill home as 16-year-old Diwa methodically packed his school bag. Around him, the familiar chaos of family life unfolded. His 11-year-old sister Bexy practicing kata forms in the hallway while eating toast. 13-year-old Alex tinkering with some electronic device that sparked occasionally. And his 14-year-old brother Blake quietly solving a complex math puzzle at the breakfast table. "Leroy, what's the weather forecast?" Alex called out to his AI assistant. "Partly cloudy with a 20% chance of rain, Alex," came the disembodied voice from speakers hidden throughout the house. Sunday, Kedwill looked up from her laptop where she was reviewing patent applications for her latest polymer invention. "I still can't get used to that thing listening to everything we say," she muttered in Tagalog, shaking her head. "Morning, love," Casey said, kissing his wife's forehead as he set down a perfectly prepared breakfast for each child. The former SAS officer moved with quiet efficiency, his dad jokes and laid-back demeanor masking years of military precision. Diwa felt the familiar weight of expectation settle on his shoulders as his siblings naturally looked to him for direction about the day ahead. As the eldest, they always came to him first, whether it was settling disputes, making decisions about weekend activities, or just checking if their plans made sense. Sometimes the responsibility felt crushing, especially with his parents' high expectations for his grades and his own drive to excel at everything. The only place where he felt truly free was during weekend camping trips in the woods behind their house, or in his Hapkido classes where the physical demands left no room for overthinking. "Where's David?" Bexy asked, looking around with characteristic concern for others. David Martinez had been with them for 3 weeks now. A quiet 14-year-old Filipino boy whose emotional walls were built as thick as his surprisingly strong physical frame. Foster care had taught him not to get attached, because every time he started caring about a family, he'd be moved again. This time felt different, but he couldn't let himself believe it might be permanent. "Still in his room," Blake said softly. Blake's almost preternatural ability to read people told him that David was struggling more than he let on. "He didn't sleep much last night." Diwa frowned. He'd been trying to include David in everything. Weekend hikes, family game nights, even offering to teach him some Hapkido moves. But the kid kept everyone at arm's length, polite but distant. As if summoned by their conversation, David appeared in the doorway, backpack already on, eyes downcast. "I'll walk to school myself today," he said quietly. "No way," Diwa said immediately. "We all go together. Family rule." The word family made David flinch almost imperceptibly, but Blake caught it. The younger boy's empathetic nature made him acutely aware of others' pain, even when they tried to hide it. Chapter 2. The Call to Adventure. That afternoon, Diwa was working on calculus homework when Alex burst into his room, circuits and wires scattered across his arms. "David's gone," Alex said breathlessly. "Leroy detected him leaving through his bedroom window about an hour ago. His backpack and clothes are missing." Diwa's heart sank. He should have seen this coming, should have done more to make David feel welcome. The weight of responsibility crashed down on him. If David got hurt or disappeared completely, it would be his fault as the big brother who was supposed to watch out for everyone. "Where would he go?" Blake asked, appearing in the doorway with Bexy close behind. "The old warehouse district," Diwa said grimly. "It's where kids go when they want to disappear. I have to find him." "We're coming with you," Bexy declared, already changing into her martial arts guy. "Absolutely not. This could be dangerous and—" "He's our brother too," Blake interrupted quietly, but with surprising firmness. "And we're stronger together." Against his better judgment, Diwa found himself nodding. Maybe Blake was right. Maybe they could help reach David in ways he couldn't alone. The abandoned warehouse district sat like a scar on the edge of their suburban community. Rusted buildings and broken windows created a maze of shadows as the 4 siblings approached on foot. "We should split up to cover more ground," Diwa decided. "Alex, take the main warehouse. Blake and Bexy, check the smaller buildings on the east side. I'll take the west. Bad idea to split up, Blake said, his intuition sending up warning flags. Something feels wrong here. But Diwa was already walking away, the pressure to find David and fix everything driving him forward. Alex slipped into the main warehouse, his tech-modified flashlight cutting through the gloom. What he found made his blood run cold. A sophisticated car theft operation, with men in expensive suits overseeing the systematic stripping of stolen vehicles. He pressed himself against a support beam, frantically texting the others. Meanwhile, outside, Blake, Bexy, and Diwa had found David sitting on a pile of rubble staring at the sunset. "You came after me," David said, his voice thick with emotion. "Of course we did," Bexy said fiercely. "Your family." David looked up at them with tears in his eyes. "I always have to leave. Every time I start to care, I get moved. I thought if I left first—" "You're not going anywhere," Diwa said firmly. "Mom and Dad are already talking to their lawyer about adoption papers." That's when the sky exploded with light. A craft of impossible design screamed overhead, trailing fire and strange energies. It crashed into the abandoned lot beside them with a sound like thunder and breaking glass. Smoke and an otherworldly humming filled the air. Against every instinct telling them to run, the four siblings approached the wreckage. Inside the twisted metal, a being unlike anything they'd ever seen was dying. Its large, dark eyes found theirs, and suddenly their minds were flooded with images and thoughts that weren't their own. Asterisk Earth, danger, virus, they come to cleanse. You must protect. The alien's mental voice grew weaker. Asterisk powers. Given elements, use them, warn them. Time running out. Energy unlike anything they'd ever felt coursed through each of them. Air swirling around Diwa, water seeming to respond to Blake's movements, heat building in Bexy's hands, and the very ground reaching up toward David. Then the presence in their minds faded to nothing. "What just happened?" Bexy whispered, staring at the small flames dancing between her fingers. "I think," Blake said slowly, water droplets from the evening dew beginning to orbit around his hands like tiny planets. "We just got drafted into something way bigger than us." Chapter 3: Refusal and Acceptance. Back home, the siblings sat in Diwa's room, staring at each other in shell-shocked silence. Alex had escaped the warehouse undetected, but his report about the criminal operation seemed insignificant compared to their encounter with a dying alien. "We have to tell Mom and Dad," Diwa said, though his voice lacked conviction. "Tell them what?" Blake asked. "That an alien crashed, gave us superpowers, and warned us that Earth is about to be destroyed? They'll think we've lost our minds." Bexy was making tiny flame sculptures in her palm, her dancer's precision allowing her surprising control. "Besides, if we tell them, they'll try to protect us, keep us home. But that alien said we're the ones who have to do something." David, who had been quietly watching dirt and small pebbles arrange themselves around his feet, finally spoke. "I've spent my whole life running from responsibility, from connection. Maybe this is why I ended up here. With all of you." Over the following days, they developed a routine. School, homework, family time, and secret training sessions in the woods behind their house. Diwa discovered he could create focused blasts of air pressure, then gradually learned to shape air into solid constructs. Blake found that his harness training translated perfectly to controlling water, allowing him to create weapons from streams and puddles. Bexy's fire powers responded to her emotions, growing stronger and more volatile when she was angry or protective. David learned to cover himself with earth and stone, creating natural armor that made him nearly invulnerable. Alex, feeling left out without elemental powers, threw himself into modifying his equipment. Using salvaged components and his grandmother's electronics knowledge, he began building what he called a cyber suit. Initially just enhanced communication and sensors, but gradually evolving into something that allowed him to interface directly with electronic systems. "We're getting stronger?" Dewa observed one evening as he created a complex lattice of solid air that the others could actually climb on. But I keep thinking about what that alien said. Time running out, danger coming. What are we supposed to do with this? Their answer came sooner than expected. Chapter 4. The Threshold. Leroy locked down the house, Alex commanded as black SUVs surrounded their home at dawn. Full security protocols. The AI's voice carried an unusual tension. Alex, I'm detecting military-grade jamming equipment. My external sensors are being compromised. Through the windows, they could see figures in tactical gear taking positions. Casey appeared in the hallway, his casual dad demeanor replaced by something cold and professional that the kids had never seen before. Upstairs, now, get your emergency packs, he ordered. Sunday emerged from her workshop, a device the kids had never seen crackling with electrical energy in her hands. Magic 12, their father said grimly, his military training taking over. Government black ops. Someone reported unusual energy signatures in this area. As if to prove his point, amplified voices began calling for the enhanced individuals to surrender peacefully for national security evaluation. The siblings looked at each other. They all knew what this meant. Separation, imprisonment, experimentation. Everything the alien had warned them about was beginning. We have to go, Dewa said, his voice steady despite the fear in his eyes. If we stay, we put Mom and Dad at risk, and we can't help anyone from inside a government lab. Casey grabbed his son's shoulders. You don't have to carry this alone, son. We're a family. We fight together. Not this time, Dad, Dewa replied, his natural leadership finally finding its true purpose. This time, we run, and we figure out how to save everyone. Sunday pressed something into Blake's hand. A communication device of her own design. Encrypted, untraceable. When you can, call us. We'll be ready. One by one, the siblings slipped out through Alex's carefully planned escape routes, using David's earth powers to create tunnels and Dewa's air manipulation to muffle sounds. By the time the tactical teams breached the house, they were already deep in the woods, following trails their father had taught them during countless weekend camping trips. Behind them, their ordinary world burned with spotlights and shouted commands. Ahead lay the unknown, a special world where children with impossible powers would have to save a planet that saw them as threats. As they disappeared into the forest, Dewa felt the last of his childhood falling away. Blake gripped his brother's shoulder, no longer content to follow, but ready to stand beside him as an equal. Bexy's flames burned steady and controlled, her fierce loyalty now tempered with purpose. David moved with quiet confidence, no longer running away, but running towards something that mattered. And Alex's suit hummed with new capabilities, his tech genius finally finding its true calling. They were no longer ordinary children playing in the woods behind their house. They were Earth's unlikely defenders, and their real adventure was just beginning. But first, they had to survive what was coming next. Asterisk to be continued.